"I shot him through the heart," the big man said. "He fell, and I put another bullet through his heart and 2 more in his head." I got my feet off the desk in a hurry and straightened up my spine. Kaler looked like a nice, well-balanced sort. It just proved you never could tell. "Mr. Kaler," I said, "the sign on the door says Richard Ensign, Private Investigations. Erring wives, yes. Wandering husbands, yes. Divorce, skip tracing, stolen property in a quiet way. Homicide, no. Take your problem to the police." I hoped he'd left his weapon at the scene of the crime. I didn't have a gun on me. He was about my size, just over 6 feet. He looked like a nice guy, tanned, with blond hair, no dandruff showing on the collar of his expensive suit. I was sorry Sherry had let him in. "Please, Mr. Ensign, hear me out," he said, spreading his hands. "My listening time comes high. I hoped it would discourage him. It didn't. I can afford it." "Shoot," I said, and could have bitten my tongue. As I said, I put 4 bullets into Alico's most vital organs. When I was certain he was dead, I pocketed my gun and let myself out of his study. I then went down the stairway and opened the outer door to leave, and met him coming in. "Him?" I said. "Who?" "Alico. Nuts, but absolutely, indubitably nuts." I swallowed dryly and choked it on it. I coughed and coughed. It looked like Kaler was coming around the desk to hit me on the back, and I waved him away. It was a good excuse to ring Sherry. She came in about 2 years later. She stood in the doorway, with the light behind her, her golden hair like a halo. I told her 1,000 times to either wear a slip or come through the door sideways. It always took a male client's mind off business and made the women so jealous they took their work elsewhere. "Water," I told her, and gave her a high sign. Kaler caught the sign. "Please," he said, "I know you think I'm crazy. I am not. If you called the police, they'd find nothing amiss." Then he reached into a pocket and hauled out a neat .38 automatic and tossed it on the desk in front of me. It was a nice gesture. I felt lots better. "Skip it, honey," I told Sherry. "A misunderstanding." The door closed behind her, and I gave him my full attention. Maybe his mind was in good shape. I doubted his glandular system. He hadn't blinked an eye at Sherry. "Let's start over," I said. "You killed Alico. Then you met him coming in. How many of him are there?" 7 or 8, I should think." "Oh, no," I said to myself. It wasn't fair. Here I was, 35 years old and decent-looking in a rugged way. Women liked me, and clients paid me good fees. And he comes in and makes me feel like I've got ping-pong balls bouncing around in my head. "It started during the war," Kaler went on. "George Alico was a physicist, brilliant, too immersed in metaphysics. He and Ahmed Ferris and I worked together on a project." "Where's Ferris now?" "Alico killed him." Just like that. At least one I wouldn't have to worry about. I wondered what Kaler did for a living, I asked, and he told me. "I invent machines of duplication, for instance, such as those which produce a given card from millions when another card is placed in them. Also a machine which can read blueprints and set machinery to work producing what the blueprints specify. Alico Ferris and I worked together on a device to reproduce exactly, and many times over, the fortuitous and random gamma radiations from a bit of radioactive material." "Succeed?" I asked. "No. I found out later why we didn't. But that is getting ahead of my story." At any rate, Kaler went on. The 3 had parted. They all lived in Chicago, but they hadn't liked each other too well. What with Ferris being a biochemist, their fields were different. Their paths didn't cross again. Until 2 years later. Then one day Alico called on me at my office. He asked me to build for him a machine which could receive a welter of radiation and electrical impulses and discharge them in a certain order, and always the same order, into any mass or substance.